Luo Shen-shi is an 18-year-old boy preparing for his college entrance examination. Albeit, to him, such an exam is simply a show-off field for bookworms. His mother, who does not live with him as a result of her special job, had given up on him. He lives alone, maybe not totally alone. He lives with a handful of dolls, whom he refers to and communicates with as if they were his girlfriends. Upon arriving at his apartment, he greeted his girlfriends and narrated his entire day to them, from how beautiful he felt the weather was to the long queue at the supermarket. He informed them of the new flavors he had bought to try out. He picked one of the dolls, named Lei Miu, to share dinner with. He soon fell into a sad state, blaming his mother for his loneliness. His phone soon rang, and information was passed to him that the package he had ordered days ago had finally arrived. He picked up and signed for the package bought by the delivery guy. He unwrapped the package, and a new phone was revealed. At least he had a new phone to keep and use. He connects the phone to his laptop in order to transfer all his files to the new phone. He soon falls asleep during the process and falls into a dream. In the trance-like dream, he was asked by a voice if he wanted superpowers. He waved off this when, suddenly, a supernatural lady appeared with a bright light charging toward him. Luo wakes up to the sound of the blaring alarm. He reaches out to switch off the alarm, as it was a weekend. Rather than the glassy surface of his phone he was expecting, he was welcomed with a soft and warm skin. He immediately opens his eyes to the reality that a woman has replaced the phone he touched seconds ago. The lady simply calls him master and asks why she was also there as a human. Luo threatens to call the police as he labels his phone-turned-girl as a drunk who came into the wrong house. The girl started crying, blaming her owner for abandoning her after he got a new phone. He soon discovered that his old phone was missing. Luo accuses her of taking the phone when the ringing tone came from her. She asked if she should pick up or reject the call. Still not understanding what was going on, he asked her to pick up the call. She leaned forward and simply kissed him. He pushed her away, but at an inappropriate body location. Things got awkward between them. Even though it was out of the blue, it was his first kiss. When Luo was still young, he wanted to become a wizard so badly. He learned that staying a virgin for 25 years would enable him to practice magic. He was lost in his thoughts about how the realization dawned on him that he did not realize that his mother was on the call through the lady. It was at this point that he realized that the girl was his phone. The mother's voice comes out of her while she takes on his character. The mother lashes out at him and instructs him to help her check out an apartment close to his place before leaving the phone call. Seeing the transformation of his phone, he concludes that his dream must have come true and that he possesses some superpower. With the conclusion that his ability might be to turn objects into girls, he takes one of his dolls, thinking it will also become a human being. It failed woefully. Luo turned to the phone and asked her about certain files on the computer to confirm she was truly his phone. She perfectly gave the information out. He asked her name after they had both sat down. Since she was previously a phone, she did not have a name and asked him to give her one. Thinking about his favorite anime female character, he named her Nikki. Nikki was excited that she now had a name given to her by her master. He felt surprisingly happy. Someone tries to open the door. The only person who had access to the apartment was his mother. He knows his mother will not understand him. He quickly took her into his wardrobe and asked her to put herself in standby mode. He closes the wardrobe and goes to open the door for a rather young woman, whom he calls his mother. His mother asked him why he looked flustered. He simply lied, saying that he was dressing up and had just woken up. He was getting more awkward and asked why she was there. Luo's mother began to be suspicious. She sniffed the room and could smell a girl's fragrance. Scared he might be caught, he lied, saying it was his detergent. Luo was happy that Nikki was well hidden, only to discover one of her shoes right outside the wardrobe where he had locked her. He quietly tried to retrieve the shoe, as it would be unexplainable if his mother found it. He was, however, caught in the process. He quickly knelt in front of the wardrobe with the shoe behind him. It was obvious that he was hiding something. She picked one of his favorite dolls and threw it against the wall opposite him. Luo, who loves his dolls so much that he had jumped to catch and save the doll, forgot he was hiding something. He noticed that there was silence behind him. turned around to see his mother holding the shoe, and demanded an explanation. To make matters worse, Nikki's clothes were caught between the wardrobe door and the door, which prompted his mother to open the wardrobe and finally catch her. Rather than lashing out at him, she started crying, telling him to be a man. She had gotten it all wrong. Luo tried to explain it to her, but she would not agree. Luo had never been with a girl. Now he had brought home a cute girl. Nikki, trying to protect her master, told his mother not to scold him as he did not kidnap her as per her theory. Calling him master, the mother thought she was using her and wanted to send him to an asylum. He quickly lied, saying that she was his girlfriend, which his mother actually bought. She reminded him of the task she had told him to do about his neighbor. She conversed a little with Nikki before leaving, not without throwing a pack of sexual protection at her son, who blushed seriously. He threw it away, only for it to be picked up by Nikki, who thinks it is chocolate. Luo collected it from her and told her it was not a good thing. He began to feel hungry, as he had slept the previous night on an empty stomach. He took a look at the noodles he had prepared to eat the previous night but had become soggy. He decided to make another. Nikki also pointed out that she was hungry as well. At first, he was not sure whether she could eat or had inner organs like humans, as she was a phone. He checks her mouth. The closeness makes him blush, though. He concludes that since she is human, she should be able to eat. He introduced her to a large assortment of snacks, telling her to pick anything of her choice. After selecting a snack, she begins to eat the nylon wrapper and complains that it is not edible. Luo tears the package open, telling her to eat only the content in the package, which she turns out to like so much. He picked up a jelly snack, which he thought she would like. As he was about to give her a kiss, a bright light shone around her. He adjusted his eyes after the super bright light had gone, only to see that Nikki had gone back to being a phone. He puts the phone on the table and starts to think about what could be the reason it has turned back. He began to think back and form theories on how his power actually works. He noted that he can't turn two at a time. Also, it seems like a time limit is attached to each transformation. He wrote all that he had noted inside a book that he had named Luo Shen Shi's Secret. He remembers that the first time it happened was after he woke up, and he added another theory that each transformation happens after 24 hours after midnight. He tries to practice this theory and decides to go to bed, as it is already 2 hours past midnight. In his bed, he could not sleep and was twitching from side to side. He sat up and wanted to wear himself out in order to sleep. He thought of different activities, including nasty ones, but remembered Nikki and stopped. He took one of his dolls and laid down on the bed. Soon enough, the kind of bright light that had happened earlier happened again. Luo sat up only to see another beautiful and quite busy girl lying beside him. The girl complains that he is too noisy. It didn't take him long to discover that it was his blanket that had transformed this time. He quickly checked the time, and his theory was proved. The time was just a few minutes past midnight. The blanket called him to sleep and hugged him super tight, just like she is used to as a blanket. He felt choked and quickly freed himself. She is a strong grub despite her innocent looks. She went back to bed and wanted to sleep since her master was not ready to sleep. Luo instead sat on his bed, thinking about his power. He felt a little bit cheated, as his power was time-bound and he could not use it as he pleased. He had planned to turn Nikki down but had miscalculated. The blanket girl woke up to meet her master weeping and inquired why he was crying. He blamed her for coming instead of Nikki. Rather than feeling sad or any negative emotions for his words, she was full of smiles and hugged him from behind, pressing her body against him, which made him blush. She once again invites him to come and sleep, which he quickly rejects. She thought he now hated her look. Luo explained to her that she was now a girl and they couldn't sleep together again. She got back on the bed and simply told him to come and sleep. He obliged and went to bed. On the bed, he confirms to her that she does not have a name. He then gave her the name Beiji because she was a blanket. He begins to feel a sense of connection with her. Beiji told her it might be because he did not beat her, unlike her mother. Luo reasons that she was referring to folding and beating dust out, which he was lazy to do. She asked him to promise that he would never beat her, and he did. They soon go back to bed, with Beiji clinging on to him. He wondered how he was going to sleep that way, with all her body pressed on him. Suddenly, the light appeared again, and Beiji was turned back into a blanket. He wondered why the time limit was super fast this time alone. Not only that, but it also makes him exhausted and he suddenly collapses. He woke up at daybreak, clinging to his blanket. He went into the toilet and wondered what would happen if it clocked midnight while he was in there. His right hand was the trigger, and it does not seem to work on any other part of his body. He wonders if it has an effect on living things while preparing his breakfast. He soon settles down to start eating. As he started to eat, he noticed the next door, which had been vacant for a long time, was noisy. He suddenly remembered the task his mother had given him. He had completely forgotten. He left his food and went outside. He saw the house movers and greeted them before returning back in. He had not expected to have a tenant next door. Luo heard a disruption inside his house. A cat showed up in front of him. He patted the cat and wondered where it came from. A high schooler came looking for the cat, whose name was Coffee. She apologizes for the cat's intrusion. She explained that they had just moved in and she had been a little messy since morning. She was the new tenant who had just moved in. Since she was running late for school, she pleaded with him to take care of her cat, which he agreed to. She appreciates him before running off to school. Luo was quite excited, as he had always wanted to be a guy with a cat. He picked a stuffed cat for Coffee to play with. Coffee truly loves the stuffed cat, as it will not stop cuddling and playing with it. Luo soon called it dinner. Coffee rushed to his food. He seems quite hungry. It starts to lick its paws after eating. Luo finds the cat and the action very cute and addictive to watch. Coffee suddenly started to feel weird. Luo deduces that he wants to use the toilet. He brought him a box to do that in. He imagined how such a cute cat would defecate something so smelly. He quickly disposed of it. He soon finds out that taking care of a pet is tiring, as he gradually feels tired. He thinks about whether his power could turn living things as well. He felt it would be cool to have a cat girl, especially one in a maid's uniform. He decided to give it a try and turn it into a girl by midnight. He set his alarm for 11:59 p.m. He wonders, though, why the girl has not come back yet, as it is already late. The alarm went off. He called Coffee to himself in order to turn her into a girl. While Coffee was on the way to him, he slipped and tripped on the stuffed cat, which sent the stuffed cat flying. In a bid to catch the stuffed cat, he touches the stuffed cat with his right hand, which immediately turns it into a girl. The cat girl who came with a tail thanked Luo for allowing them to stay at his home. He told her not to be carefree, as she was now a girl, when she wagged her tail. Luo patted her before asking what her name was. She replies that she is usually called Mimi by her master. He figures out that by master, she meant the girl next door, which means his power retains the soul of the object. He gained permission to touch her ear, which was that of a cat. He touches her tail as well, but it results in a teary-eyed girl. She told him she doesn't like to be touched in the tail. Luo apologized and made up by inviting her to come and eat. He offered her his breakfast of a snack and milk. Mimi, being a cat, starts to lick the meal with his tongue. Luo stopped her and taught her the proper way to eat, as she was now a girl. She hurt herself in the process of eating the snacks and was crying. Luo calms her down and tells her to stop crying. Luo helped her bandage up the finger she had hurt, which she was grateful for. Moments later, Luo lay on his back on his bed, exhausted. The cat and the girl cat had been running around the house. Cats are nocturnal animals, but to him, they were just too energetic. They soon chased themselves to his table, which triggered him. Holding them by their hair, he looked around the house. It has been turned into a messy field. The earlier cute cats are now quite horrible. Since Mimi was the talking one, he asked her to explain himself. At first, she tried to buy her way out with cuteness but was caught. She eventually put the entire blame on Coffee. Unknown to him, Coffee had slipped through and was on the table he had stayed on before. The cat took one of his dolls, and despite trying to be persuaded, it still threw the doll off the table before jumping on him. Luo quickly catches the doll, as it loves his dolls so much. Mimi announced the arrival of her master even though she was not yet in Luo and thought of reasons why the girl would be that late.